All right, so let's jump into Jalen Carter, the football player. Now, listen, we know there's red flags. We know there's some hesitation from fans of should you draft him, even though he came in 9 pounds heavy to his draft day, declined to run the 40, failed to finish some drills. Like, should you draft him and waste a number 6 overall pick on him? And the question, Eric, should you?
Absolutely, you should. Especially if you're the Detroit Lions. It shouldn't be a thought. See how I just took a second to even think about it? Already in flagrant off of that. I thought too long. If the Lions are at 6 and Jalen Carter's name is still there and Will Anderson is already off the board, Brad Holmes should be there with that envelope as Seattle is done with their pick, assuming they're still ahead of the Lions.
Making the NFL
absolutely.
mad again.
I don't care. Let Roger Goodell be PO'd. I absolutely think you should. So, he's to me the second best player of this draft, even with the off the field issues that people are so concerned about, which are completely valid. I've said this repeatedly and I'm going to stick to it. I believe the Lions have the leadership and the team around them, especially with the veteran secondary players they just added. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is really going to hone in on being the captain of this defense. And I think he'll be able to keep guys like Jalen Carter in spots to focus on football and growing, not just as a player, but as a man in general. Like, I think they have the right pieces around them. I think Dan Campbell will help out. I think the Lions are the best team to put Jalen Carter in a winning position. I don't think it's a question. You take Jalen Carter if he's available.
Yeah, I don't really think it is either because of what sets him apart from any other draft prospect. Yep. He is the best prospect in the league coming into this draft at defensive tackle, a position that you could upgrade, and we'll talk about that, right? He's not the best prospect because that's Will Anderson, which, again, we want Will Anderson if he's there and Carter's there. But we're not going to be upset if Carter's taken. Because this is a guy that, according to PFF, went 392 snaps last year. And what's his big knock, Eric?
His conditioning.
His conditioning. Can't stay on the field, right? 273 of those 392 snaps were against the pass.
That says a lot. That's huge.
119 were against the run. And he graded out overall from PFF as a 92.3. Arguably the best prospect in this draft. What sets him apart? Everything. He's a phenomenal football player. And to your point, if they put things around him that should make those offseason issues irrelevant.
And I don't understand the knock on the conditioning anyway, because for me, I love to have that for reference anyway, because yes, he's a D tackle. He's 6'3", 300 pounds, big boy. But for me, D tackles are not predicated for playing 3 downs any damn way. So if he's giving you 2 dominant downs per possession, I'm okay with that, regardless of whether it's run or pass, because he's shown to be productive with both. So to me, like we talked about in the comments, like they talk about a lot in the comment section, to me, that's what you want him to be. You want him to be productive in 2 downs, letting Bugs be productive in 2 downs, letting McNeil shine in 2 downs. We'll break down more of the defensive tackles later, but Levi if he comes back. Like, I think you're supposed to have versatility at that position. You're not supposed to be relying on a D tackle to just stay in and play every down. Like, that's not realistic in the NFL or anywhere, honestly.
Which speaks to, I think, the impact that he can have when it comes to being a Detroit Lion. Yep. Now, you said last night you hope that he changes his number to 80 from 88, which, whatever, that's fine.
You got to change it.
I don't care about numbers at this point. I hope he wears 0.
I do, no.
Oh, no, wait. He can't because Marvin Jones is wearing 0. And he's not wearing Uno because J-Mo didn't even let Okuda pack his bedroom before he's like, hey, I'm going to need that number.
Don't even bring that number up to J-Mo. It's mine, he says.
But when you think about it, it's kind of in the same vein that we talked about last week with Will Anderson. Not even last week. It was Tuesday's show this week. You get an opportunity to add Jalen Carter to Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston. That's not a bad down line situation.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No. And
red flags or no red flags, let's look at the football player. I mean, half y'all wanted to trade for Jalen Ramsey anyways. There's not red flags with him.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So why are we giving a guy who's established in his career a pass? Yeah, he's got production on the field. And we're not giving a 20-something-year-old kid a pass? We can't allow him the grace to grow up a little bit?
Exactly. You got to be sensible with that. And especially for a defensive tackle, like outside of Albert Haynesworth, how many like drama-filled D tackles are there in NFL history? Like, it's not receiver where they're predicated on getting
Vince
the ball.
Wilfork, maybe.
Sure, maybe, but I mean, he's that's Bill Belichick. And maybe, I mean, but those are two NFL champions you just brought up. So I mean,
great.
Either way, I'm fine with that. Either way, but the point is, it's not like a receiver where like the character and all that is like predicated to their production, because D tackles are not a position where it's predicated on numbers and being involved. All he has to do is be on the field. If he takes on a double team and Aiden gets a sack, he's gonna be hype about it. Like, I don't think he's gonna be I need my numbers. The D tackle's not a position where you need that. So this isn't like to me, if it were like a problematic receiver and they were in this position, we both would probably say, you know what, probably not. But for a D tackle, as important as that position is in that D line, it's a no brainer. Go get Jalen Carter.
Except we disagree on J-Mo, but I've maybe overreacted to him, so I don't want to. I'm not going to. Listen, I love J-Mo. I hope he wears number 1, and when we play the Falcons, I hope he has 7 touchdowns against Jeff Okudah.
That's going to be so
set some kind of record, because if Okudah is covering him, that's going to be a lot of fun. And if you go to that game, you're going to need some swag to wear to that game. So, Eric, let's talk to the people about Gear Up Detroit.
Let's talk about it. Hey, Detroit sports fans, did you know you can now rep your favorite team in style without even leaving this page? Gear Up Detroit store is now available right here on YouTube, just below the video you're watching right now.
That's right. You can browse through all of our range of high quality and unique and stylish merchandise for all your favorite Detroit sports teams, the Lions, the Tigers, the Red Wings, the Pistons, without missing a moment of Beyond the Box, your favorite Detroit sports show.
And Detroit sports fans, if you want to explore even more awesome gear and get your swag up like swagless AJ, you can always visit gearupdetroit.shop for a full range of tees, hoodies, hats, and more, all designed by talented local artists.
So for the next game, make sure you gear up, support local creators, and make a statement with Gear Up Detroit. And remember, you can shop right here below this video on YouTube, or always visit gearupdetroit.shop. Now, we've talked about Jalen Carter's impact. What do you think a potential projection for him could be? What's the impact?
For a player like him, I don't want to put too much on his plate, because again, for a position like defensive tackle, you're not always going to see his impact just right away. You're not going to see him, splashing and flashing immediately every down, maybe not even every possession. You're just not going to see that from a defensive tackle. But if you see the Lions rise up from the 29th ranked rushing defense that they had, where they're allowing like 140 yards a game, if I'm not mistaken. If you see that trimmed down to 110 or 100, and they're the top 10, 15 in that department, that's an impact for Jalen Carter. If you see the sack numbers going up, and you see Aiden Hutchinson with double-digit sacks this year, and you see him batting down balls at the line, or if you see Aleem McNeil splashing and flashing, or even blitzes being able to be more productive, those are things you have to pay attention to know the value of a player like Jalen Carter. It's not going to be just easy to digest and see on your screen right away. You have to pay attention to it. But Detroit sports fans are some of the brightest and smartest around, so they'll understand, and I believe they'll see it having him on this defensive line. I think they'll see that impact right away from what they need.
I mean, we watched right there his highlights last night, and again, they're highlights, so you're going to see a lot of tackles in the backfield. You're going to see some sacks, some forced fumbles, all those different things. I get all of that. What we don't see, though, is the times when he's double-teamed and Nolan Smith gets the highlight reel play.
Exactly.
And that's all you're asking for from a defensive tackle. Yep. Was Work Sapp an animal at defensive tackle? Yeah, he was, and he created a lot of havoc.
Different.
But he also, because he was the anchor of that defense, and they built that defense around him to where Derek Brooks could shine. Derek Brooks is an all-world linebacker if he doesn't play behind Warren Sapp.
Yep. No, not at all.
Maybe.
Well,
And that's what you're looking for when you draft a defensive tackle. I mean, listen, Derek Brooks is still a really good football player. I don't want to knock the guy,
get what
right?
you're saying.
But
Yeah,
at the
you're
same
right.
time, does he have the type of career that he has if he's not playing behind Warren Sapp, maybe one of the most lovable and potentially hateable defensive tackles in. Listen, that was a time when the Bucks had Mike Allstott and they had Brad Johnson and his elbow pads that linemen wear, and they had my favorite player back then, Warwick Dunn.
I was a Warwick Dunn fan. I liked him, even though he was
a
in the
huge
division.
Warwick Dunn fan. Madden '99, man, that's all I would play. It was the Bucks. And I'd go into the blimp view, and I would throw screen passes to Warwick Dunn and make one spin move and rack up those touchdowns. It was a lot of fun because that game is glitchy, and I exploited the glitch. But that's what when we talk. What?
No, yeah. I was gonna say you've hit on it. Like that defensive line, it was the anchor of that team. There was Simeon Rice and Warren Sapp, and I know I'm forgetting some other names, but yes. Derek Brooks ate off of that. John Lynch became better off that. They had great cornerbacks because of that. And that's something else we didn't mention. Like you'll see these veteran corners be able to they'll be able to respond better to the defensive line pressure to be able to like create turnovers or get off the field easier on third down, which was another huge problem the Lions had last season. You'll see that improve next season with Jalen Carter.
Listen, if he's there at 6 and they pass on him, we said we would trust Brad Holmes. But that doesn't mean that we have to necessarily love the decision to pass on Jalen Carter, who is going to be trouble in the NFL. In the good way, not in the bad way.
A lot of people.
He's going to be a menace.
No, you ain't lying. And I think to me, because people's line in the sand is if we get a quarterback early, I think it's passing on Jalen Carter that would make me like people. I've heard people say, "Oh, it would undo all the work and the good that you've done," which I don't even agree with either way. But like, you cannot let Chicago trade back from 1 to still get the same guy that you have a chance to get at 6. You cannot let that mistake happen. Please do not let that happen.
No, you cannot. But we want to know what you think, okay? What do you like about Jalen Carter? What don't you like about Jalen Carter? Let us know in the comments. If you like the video that is happening right now, make sure you like it and share it so we can continue to build this awesome Detroit sports community with your favorite show, Beyond the Box.
Yeah.